A railway carriage at the Dutch border, 10 in the morning, the 10th of November 1918. An imperial train sitting on the tracks while Dutch officials work out whether they're legally obliged to let it through.
Inside is a man who, 4 days earlier, still believed he could march the army home and use it to crush the revolution in his own capital.
And who has just been told by his generals that the army will march home, but not behind him.
He asks about the oath. The soldiers swore a personal oath to him, and the field marshal tells him the oath is now a form of words.
Kaiser Wilhelm II, ruler of the strongest industrial and military power in Europe, sitting in a stopped train, asking a foreign border guard for asylum.
And what makes this one different from the other episodes is that he wasn't overwhelmed by forces beyond his control.
He inherited the single best strategic position any German ruler ever had, and he dismantled it personally, decision by decision, over 26 years.
So, start with the arm, because I know that sounds reductive, but every serious biography goes there.
Breech birth in 1859. The delivery damaged the nerves in his left shoulder. The arm never developed properly, ended up about 6 inches shorter, essentially useless.
And the treatments they tried on him as a child were brutal. Electric shocks, being strapped into an iron frame to correct his posture.
In every photograph, the left hand is holding a sword hilt or gloves or resting on a hip, always concealed.
Now, he's not the only insecure man in history. What makes it catastrophic is the constitution he lands in.
Because on paper, Germany has a parliament, the Reichstag, elected by universal male suffrage, broader than Britain's franchise at the time.
And it controls the budget, mostly. But it does not control the government. The chancellor answers to the Kaiser alone.
And the Kaiser personally controls the army, the navy, and foreign policy. The military reports to him directly, not through any minister.
So you have a modern industrial state with the foreign policy of a personal monarchy. It works fine if the monarch is Bismarck's employer and listens to him.
Which brings us to 1888, the year of 3 emperors.
His grandfather dies in March at 90. His father becomes emperor. And his father was the liberal hope, married to that English princess, genuinely intending to reform.
And he already has throat cancer. He reigns 99 days, unable to speak, communicating by writing notes.
99 days. That's one of the great counterfactuals of European history.
And in June, Wilhelm is emperor at 29.
And within 2 years, he removes Bismarck, which is the hinge.
Bismarck's been running German foreign policy for nearly 30 years, and his entire system is built on one principle.
Germany is finished. That's his phrase, essentially. Germany is a satiated bower. No more expansion. The job now is to keep France isolated and never fight 2 fronts.
And he does that with an absurd web of overlapping treaties, some of which contradict each other, several of which are secret.
Including the reinsurance treaty with Russia, which guarantees neutrality if either is attacked, while Germany is simultaneously allied to Austria, who is Russia's rival in the Balkans.
It's a system only one man could hold in his head, and in 1890, Wilhelm pushes him out because he wants to rule himself.
There's a British cartoon at the time, Dropping the Pilot, showing Bismarck walking down the ship's ladder while the young Kaiser watches from the deck.
And the very next decision is the one that kills Germany 24 years later. He lets the reinsurance treaty lapse.
Because he thinks Russia's autocracy and Germany's are natural friends, monarch to monarch. They're related to the Tsar. They write letters to each other.
And Russia, now uncovered, needs an ally. And the only large power available is the one Bismarck spent 30 years isolating.
France, Republican, revolutionary, everything the Tsar despises. And they sign a military alliance in 1894.
So the two-front war Bismarck's entire career was designed to prevent is now a treaty obligation on the other side of the map.
And Wilhelm did that in 4 years for nothing. There was no crisis, no pressure. He just didn't renew it.
Then Weltpolitik, world policy, the idea that Germany deserves a place in the sun, colonies, a global navy, prestige.
And the Navy is the disaster, because from 1898, Tirpitz starts pushing naval laws through the Reichstag to build a battle fleet.
And a battle fleet, unlike commerce raiders, has exactly one purpose. It's built to fight the fleet that would oppose it.
And there's only one fleet in the North Sea worth building against. Britain understood that instantly.
And for Britain, a navy isn't prestige, it's food. They imported most of their calories, lose naval supremacy, and the country starves in 6 weeks.
So, Germany built the one thing guaranteed to turn a friendly power into a permanent enemy.
And the money for it came out of the army budget, incidentally, so they got a fleet that spent the war in harbor and an army that was short.
Britain responds with the Dreadnought in 1906, which makes every existing battleship obsolete overnight, including their own.
Which resets the race, and Britain can outbuild Germany, so Germany loses the race it started.
And crucially, Britain starts settling its old quarrels, with France in 1904, with Russia in 1907.
Colonial rivals for a century, both making up because of German shipbuilding.
Now the personality, because it isn't just policy. The man kept saying things out loud.
The Kruger telegram in 1896, congratulating the president of the Boer Republic on repelling a British raid.
Which was legally fine and diplomatically insane, and turned British public opinion against Germany for the first time in a serious way.
The speech to troops leaving for China in 1900, telling them to behave like Huns and give no quarter, so that no Chinese will ever dare look a German in the eye again.
Which is where the wartime nickname for German soldiers came from. Their own emperor supplied it.
And the Daily Telegraph interview in 1908, where he simultaneously claims the English are mad not to see he's their friend, admits most Germans are anti-British, and says he gave Britain the plan they used to win the Boer War.
Insulting everyone in one interview. There was serious talk in Germany of restricting his right to speak publicly.
Then the Moroccan crises. 1905, he lands at Tangier and makes a speech supporting Moroccan independence to spite the French.
And the conference that follows leaves Germany isolated with only Austria supporting it. He'd tried to break the French and British up and welded them together.
He does it again in 1911 by sending a gunboat to Agadir. Same result, harder.
And after that, Britain and France begin actual joint military and naval staff planning. Not a treaty, but in practice, worse for Germany than a treaty.
So by 1914, Germany's position is encircled, one reliable ally, a fleet that can't leave port safely, and a war plan that assumes fighting east and west simultaneously.
Then Sarajevo. And this is where his personal responsibility is direct and documented.
The Austrian heir is assassinated in June 1914. Austria wants to punish Serbia and asks Germany whether it has support.
And on the 5th and 6th of July, Wilhelm gives them what history calls the blank check. Unconditional backing, whatever they decide to do.
And he tells them not to delay. Then he goes on his annual yachting holiday in the North Sea.
He handed a wounded, angry ally an unlimited guarantee and then left for 3 weeks.
And when he comes back on the 28th and finally reads Serbia's reply, he writes on it that it's a capitulation, that every reason for war has disappeared.
And by then, Austria has declared war, and the mobilization timetables are running, and mobilization schedules in 1914 are almost impossible to stop.
He tried to reverse it. The Tsar tried. 2 cousins sending each other telegrams signed Willie and Nicky while their armies moved.
And that's the whole tragedy of a personal monarchy. He had the power to start it and not the competence to stop it.
And then the war itself, where the most remarkable thing is how quickly he becomes irrelevant.
He'd built his whole identity on being the warlord, and in an industrial war of staff planning and logistics, there's nothing for him to do.
He tours hospitals, he hands out medals, he's kept away from real decisions because nobody trusts his judgment.
And from 1916, Hindenburg and Ludendorff effectively run Germany. Historians call it the silent dictatorship.
They force through unrestricted submarine warfare in 1917, which brings America in, which loses the war.
And the Kaiser signs off on it, because refusing would mean firing the 2 most popular men in the country.
So by 1918, he's a signature, and in the autumn it collapses.
The offensive fails, The Bulgarians surrender. Ludendorff has something close to a breakdown and demands an immediate armistice.
And the navy, the fleet he built, which had barely fought, is ordered out for one final glorious battle.
And the sailors at Kiel refuse, because they can see it's a suicide sortie for the honor of officers.
The mutiny spreads to the ports, then the cities, then Berlin, workers' and soldiers' councils forming everywhere.
And on the 9th of November, the Chancellor simply announces the abdication without asking him, publishes it to try to save something.
And he's at headquarters in Belgium, furious, insisting he's still King of Prussia at minimum.
And that's when they ask the Field Marshal about the oath, and there's no answer worth hearing.
He crosses into the Netherlands the next day. The Dutch Queen refuses to extradite him despite the Allies demanding he be tried.
And he lives another 23 years at a manor house at Doorn, cutting down trees. He is said to have felled tens of thousands of them.
Writing memoirs blaming everyone else, drifting into vicious anti-Semitism, blaming Jews and Freemasons for the collapse.
He sends a congratulatory telegram to Hitler when France falls in 1940, hoping it might get him restored. It doesn't. He's ignored.
He dies in 1941, in an occupied country, in a house he wasn't allowed to leave.
So, the verdict. Was he a monster or a fool?
Neither, quite. He was a frightened man with enormous power and no capacity to sit still.
Every single crisis, his instinct was to do something visible. Make a speech, send a gunboat, build a fleet, issue a guarantee.
And in diplomacy, the highest skill is knowing when to do nothing at all. That was the one move he never had.
He inherited a system that required patience from a man who mistook noise for strength.
This was History But Better podcast, episode 7.